number one issue mentioned for the believer, number 3 in our list, but the number one for the believer, and you all know this, is what? Not cleaning after using the restroom. Not cleaning after using the restroom. And there are many ahadith about this. Of them is the very, very famous hadith that our Prophet ﷺ passed by. Hadith is Bukhari and Muslim, muttafaq alayhi, Abu Hurairah and others narrated it. Our Prophet ﷺ passed by 2 qabrs over there, 2 qabrs next to him, and he said, إِنَّهُمَا لَيُعَذَّبَانِ وَمَا يُعَذِّبَانِ فِي كَبِيرٍ بَلَا إِنَّهُمَا لَكَبِيرٍ. These 2 are being punished, but they are not being punished for big things. Then he said, no, they are big things. As for one of them, أَمَّا أَحَدُهُمَا فَكَانَ لَا يَسْتَتِرُ مِنْ بَوْلِهِ. He would not protect himself from his own bowl, from his own urine. And the other version says, كَانَ لَا يَسْتَبْرِئُ مِنْ بَوْلِهِ. He would not allow his urine to basically finish, and so it would drop out and would leave najasa over there. Now, and our Prophet also said, let me finish some hadith and then we'll clarify. In Sunan al-Nisa'i, very interesting narration, authentic narration, that once our Prophet ﷺ needed to relieve himself, so he walked away, went away, and he went behind a bush or something, and he sat down to relieve himself. And one of the munafiqun made fun of this, and he said, look, he is urinating like a lady. Now pause, do we understand what is the mockery? Men, you know, in this culture, right? This is what is being made fun of by this munafiq, okay? Even in their culture, men would stand up. And our Prophet ﷺ sat down. So one of the munafiq, a'udhu billah, and this is the munafiq, what do you expect, yani? He said, look, he is urinating like a lady. This is not the way that a man should urinate. So when the Prophet came back, he was informed of this, and he said, do you not know what happened to the Bani Israel? They were commanded by Allah, they used to cut off any cloth that urine had splashed on it. Then one of them stood up and said, don't do this anymore, keep that cloth on, don't worry about it. And he said, Allah Azza wa Jal punished that man in his grave for stopping this practice of the Bani Israel. So the reason why our Prophet would sit down was because obviously when you stand, the chances of the urine coming back on you are more. Now, this is an advanced fiqh issue. Is it allowed to urinate while standing? Large controversy. But in a nutshell, if you can somehow make sure it doesn't splash back, and also somehow cleanse yourself. When you go to these restrooms in the public facilities, both of these are not usually possible, okay? But if these 2 conditions are met, then it is permissible, because the reason why you should not urinate standing is mentioned in this hadith very explicitly, and that is that it will splash back on a man. So the point being that our Prophet ﷺ explained that we don't want the urine to splash back on us. The third hadith we'll mention today, Abu Hurairah narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, be cautious and beware of your urine. لأن عامة عذاب القبر من البول. Because the majority of عذاب القبر will be because of urine. This hadith is in Daraqutni. And in the Mustadrak of Al-Hakim, our Prophet ﷺ said, أكثر عذاب القبر من البول. The majority of عذاب القبر comes from urine. Now, let's explain. Why is this such a big deal? It is a big deal, as Imam al-Nawawi and Qurtubi and others said, because it indicates a complete and utter carelessness about tahara. And tahara is the key to salah. And salah is the pillar and the crux and the backbone of all good deeds. So when a person becomes lax about tahara, this is a frame of mind that he's lax about salah. And when you're lax about salah, then even if you pray and you're not, يعني, وَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ مَعَ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ, right? Even the one who's praying, but he's not praying the way that you're supposed to pray. So the one who is not concerned with bowl, we're not concerned with urine, bowl is urine in Arabic. The one who's not concerned with urine, and he doesn't care where it splatters, he doesn't care his clothes get dirty. This indicates and betrays a level of carelessness with the Sharia of Allah that, a'udhu billah, what do you expect then? So we are told to be cautious, very careful of taking reasonable protection. Now again, this is not the topic here, but in every book of fiqh and every book of adab, we also hear the exact opposite, and that is the waswasa of shaitan when it comes to tahara. We should be between the two extremes, right? We should not go to extreme about this as well. Take reasonable precautions, and as long as you are fairly certain that your clothes are clean, no problem. Don't let shaitan go and start driving you crazy. Maybe there's a molecular thing that splashed back. No, we're not having to deal with the molecular thing. Don't worry about that. You took reasonable precautions and you leave the rest. Don't let shaitan destroy your act of worship. The point being that our Prophet ﷺ said, now back to the hadith, they are being punished for something that is not big. No, they are big. How do we understand this hadith? Right? He said, إِنَّهُمَا لَيُعَذِّبَانِ وَمَا يُعَذِّبَانِ فِي كَبِيرٍ بَلَا إِنَّهُمَا لَكَبِيرٌ. Is this a contradiction? No. Our scholars have said, theoretically, technically, these are not major sins. They are not major sins in and of themselves, but they lead to major sins. Okay? In and of themselves, if you're careless with urine, in and of itself it's not a major sin, but if you become careless with salah, that is a major sin. Another interpretation, and they're all valid interpretations in this regard, they're being punished for things that are not trivial. They're not big, rather they are big, meaning they're being punished for things that if they just took a little bit of precaution, they could have avoided them. But they didn't avoid them. So they're not big in terms of protecting yourself, but they are big in terms of sin. So this is another interpretation, and both of these are valid. The point being that we should all remember this hadith, especially brothers, because generally speaking, we are the ones who are more careless in this regard, that we need to be cautious about our urine. And by the way, if it so happens that some splashes back, then all you need to do is wash it. Alhamdulillah, we don't have the Sharia of the Bani Israel that we have to cut it off and get rid of that, It's just washing it properly and then it is tahir. So that's not an issue. As well, by the way, if it's so, and I'm just saying this even though there's a fiqh issue, but still, just because we're on the topic, if it so happens that you are forced to use the restroom in a public area and you're not able to purify yourself in the proper manner, in this case, do not make sure that you're able to get home and change your clothes and wash yourself before salah. So to be in a state of a little bit of najis on your clothing temporarily, that is not going to cause you any sin. The sin is to pray in that state. You see the difference between the two, right? So if it so happens that you are driving between two cities and you are not able to get a restroom that is clean and you just have to urinate, and you're not certain that you were able to protect yourself from whatnot, and you have an hour left to get home whatnot, for example, so you just quickly go home and you just wash yourself and change clothes, and you are not sinful. The sin is not in having a bit of najis on you for a period of time. The sin is praying while that najis is. I'm just saying this min bab al-fa'ida so that we benefit from this. Okay.